All right, thanks, guys. Welcome to the show. Happy Monday to you. Couple evening games underway, but we do already have some lines out for Tuesday's MLB action. But before we get into that, I just want to remind you to check out my daily best play at patreon.com/BrockPage. And with a documented record of 6-2-1 in my last 9 daily best plays, you're hurting yourself each and every day you're not subscribed. There's also plenty of free content there as well, so once again, please feel free to check me out at patreon.com/BrockPage. I also want to give a quick shout out, a big thank you to my headline sponsor for today's program. That's Jimmy and the boys at GhostPicksATS.com. If you like making money on sports, there's no reason why you shouldn't check out one or more of their very affordable money-making packages. That's Jimmy and the boys at GhostPicksATS.com. That's GhostPicksATS.com. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at our Tuesday slate of baseball games and personal leans. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And leading off, we've got Braves Marlins. That's 12-10 Miami. And the Braves are the $1.30 favorites in this one. Total's 8 flat. The Marlins get the 1.5 at home. And at the moment, 77% of the public bettors are still leaning toward Atlanta. Now, pitching-wise, we got Julio Teheran for the Braves, Wei-Yin Chen for the Marlins. And speaking of the fish, real tough sledding against this Atlanta squad, just 2-5 in their 7 head-to-head matchups. The Marlins have also really struggled against winning ball clubs, winning just 38% of their games versus teams over 500. Now, scoring-wise, 5-2 to the over in these teams' 7 heads-up contests. Atlanta's also 18-8 to the over versus losing ball clubs. So with all that said and done, I'm going to go ahead and agree with the betting public taking the Atlanta Braves outright and the over, 8 flat. Next game, Dodgers, Phillies, 7:05 South Philly. And a flip of the lines in this one as the Dodgers were plus $1.15, now minus $1.10. Totals at 7.5, and at the moment, 57% are leaning LA. Now, pitching-wise, we're looking at Kenta Maeda for the Dodgers, Aaron Nola for the Fightins. And speaking of the Phils, real good when Aaron Nola takes the bump, 14-6 in their games where Nola makes the first pitch. The Fightins have also been real good in their games at Citizens Bank Park, going 32-17 in front of their home crowd. Now, total-wise, lots of unders between these two squads. 15-5 to the under when Aaron Nola makes the start for the Phils. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Dodgers went 13-3 to the under when Kenta Maeda made the start for them as well. So with all those trends in mind, I'm going to fade the public bettors and lean toward the underdog Phils, winning this one outright, and the under, 7.5. Next game, Red Sox O's, 7:05 Baltimore. And a 10-cent move toward the Red Sox in the early going here. Boston opened 175 up to 185. Totals at 10 flat, and 70% are still leaning Bo Sox. Now, pitching-wise, we're looking at Drew Pomeranz back for the Red Sox. Yefry Ramirez on the bump for the Orioles. And speaking of the O's, they just can't beat this Boston team. Just 1-9 in their 10 head-to-head matchups. The O's have also been putrid in their games at the current money line price, dropping 20 of 24 ball games at the current money line odds. Now, total-wise, good amount of unders between these two starting pitchers. 3 out of Baltimore's last 4 stayed under the line when Ramirez made the start. Meanwhile, on the other side, same song and dance as Boston's 37% to the over when Pomeranz makes the start themselves. So all those stats in mind, I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Red Sox run line and the under, 10 flat. Next game, Twins Blue Jays, 7:07 Toronto, and a 30-cent move already in the early going here as Minnesota opened $1.05 up to $1.35. Total was 9 down to 8.5. And at the moment, we are looking at Jose Berrios for the Twins, Ryan Barucki for the Blue Jays. And speaking of the Blue Jays, pretty bad when Barucki makes the start. And despite his ERA and whip, Toronto's lost 3 out of their last 4 where Barucki made the first pitch. Toronto's also been pretty bad in the Rogers Center, dropping 16 of 23 in their games as the underdog at home. Now, total-wise, 2 out of Toronto's last 3 got over the posted total. Meanwhile, 2 out of these teams' last 3 head-to-head matchups got over the line as well. So all that said and done, I'm going to agree with the public and lean toward the Twins outright, but fade the public bettors on the total and take the over, 8.5. Next game, Cardinals-Reds, 7-10 Cincinnati, and a slight nickel fade of the Cards in the early going here. St. Louis opened $1.20 down to $1.15. Total open 9.5 up to 10.5 already. And at the moment, we are looking at Austin Gomer making his first start for the Cards. Homer Bailey making his return back for the Reds in the rotation. And speaking of the Reds, real bad against this Cardinals squad. Just 3 of 13 in their head-to-head matchups with St. Louis. We're also looking at a Cincy ball club who's just 1-11 when Homer Bailey makes the start. Now, total-wise, 8 out of 12 Homer Bailey starts did stay under the line, surprisingly. Cardinals games also went just 11-20 to the over when taking on sub-500 teams. So all that said and done, I'm going to fade the public and lean toward the Cardinals outright and the under, 10.5 in this one. Next game, Pirates-Indians, 7-10 Cleveland. The Indians are $1.60. Total open 9.5 down to 9 flat. And 54% are actually leaning Pittsburgh in this spot here. Now, pitching-wise, we're looking at Joe Musgrove for the Buccos, Shane Bieber for the Wahoos. And speaking of the Indians, real good in the Shane Bieber starts. 6-1 in their games where Shane made the first pitch. They're also taking on a Pittsburgh team who loses 70% of their ball games at the current market price. Now, scoring-wise, good amount of overs between these two squads. Cleveland 17-2 to the over at home when the line is 9 or higher. Meanwhile, on the other side, Pittsburgh 67% to the over when Joe Musgrove makes the start themselves. So all that said and done, I'm going to go ahead and fade the public. Take the Indians outright and the over, 9 flat. Next game, Yankees-Rays, 7-10 Tampa Bay. And a 5-cent fade of the Rays in the early going here as New York opened 135 up to 140, total 7 flat. The Rays get the 1.5 at home. And at the moment, we've got Tanaka for the Yanks, Chi-Wei-Hu slated for Tampa Bay. And speaking of the Rays, kind of cold right now, dropping 3 of their last 4 and 5 out of their last 7. They're also taking on a New York team who's winning 75% of their ball games played at the current market price. Now, scoring-wise, the Yankees are 9-6 to the over when Tanaka makes the first pitch. And oddly enough, New York's also 11-3 to the over in their second game without a day off. So with all those stats in mind, I'm going to side with the public and take the Yankees outright in the over, 7 flat. Next game, it is going to be Diamondbacks-Cubs, 8:05 Wrigley, and a 15-cent fade of the Cubs in the early going here. They opened $1.70 down to $1.55. No posted total as of yet. And at the moment, we got Clay Buchholz for the D-backs, Kyle Hendricks for the Cubs. And despite Hendricks' struggles, this Cubbies team has been excellent at Wrigley, going 31-17 in their games at home. They're also taking on a D-backs team who struggles against teams over 500, winning just 44% of their contests versus winning ball clubs. Now, scoring-wise, a case for the under can certainly be made. Chicago's 13-7 to the under when Hendricks throws the first pitch. Meanwhile, on the other side, Arizona's gone 11-7 to the under versus winning ball clubs. So whenever we get a posted total here, we'll have to just go ahead and play it from there. But when it comes to the sides in this one, I'm going to fade the public bettors and take the Chicago Cubs minus $1.55, winning this one outright for some money line cash. Next game, A's Rangers, 8:05 Texas, and a nickel fade of the Athletics in the early going here. They open $1.25 down to $1.20. Totals 11 flat. 52% are still leaning Texas. And at the moment, we've got Francelis Montas for the A's, Mike Minor for the Rangers. And speaking of the Rangers, they're going up against an Oakland squad who's found great success when Montas makes the start. And as a matter of fact, the A's are 6-2 in their games where Montas throws the first pitch. Oakland's also pounding these losing ball clubs this season, going 25-11 in their games versus sub-500 organizations. Now, total-wise, Oakland's 23-10 to the over on the road when the line was 9 or higher. The A's have also gone 6-2 to the over when Francelis Montas made the start. So with all those trends in mind, I'm going to go ahead and fade the public bettors and take the Oakland A's winning this one outright and the over 11 flat. Next game, Nationals Brewers 8-10 Milwaukee, and a flip of the lines already in the early going here. The Nats were plus $1.05, now minus $1.15. Totals 9 flat. The Brewers catch the 1.5 at home. And at the moment, we've got Jeremy Hellickson for the Nats, Junior Guerra for the Brew Crew. And speaking of Milwaukee, they've got a real tough test ahead of them, taking on a Washington squad who's 19-12 as the official road favorite. The Nationals have also been good in their Hellickson starts, going 9-4 when Jeremy throws the first pitch. Now, scoring-wise, tons of unders between both of these starting pitchers. 10-3 to the under when Hellickson takes the bump. 12-6 to the under when Guerra makes the start for Milwaukee as well. So all those factors in mind, I'm going to agree with the public bettors and take the Washington Nationals outright and the under 9 flat. Next game, Tigers-Royals, 8:15 Kansas City. And no surprises here as we're seeing a 10-cent move toward the Tigers in the early going here. Detroit open $1.05 up to $1.15. Total open 9 up to 9.5. And at the moment, 69% of the public bettors are still leaning toward the Tigers. Now, pitching-wise, we're looking at Jordan Zimmerman for Detroit, Birch Smith for Kansas City. And speaking of KC, I say it every time, they're terrible in these types of spots here. Just 22% in their games at the current moneyline price. They're also winning a measly 23% of their games as the official home underdog. Now, total-wise, lots of unders between these two squads. 7 of 10 head-to-head matchups between these two teams stayed under the line. Meanwhile, on the Kansas City side of things, their games went 31% to the under when taking on other losing ball clubs. Kansas City, their games went 69% to the under when taking on other losing ball clubs. So with all those stats in mind, I'm going to tail the public bettors in this one and take the Detroit Tigers. But I'm going to fade the betting public on the total and take the under, 9.5. Next game, Astros, Rockies, 8:40 Colorado, and a 15-cent fade of the Rockies at home here. Houston opened $1.45 up to $1.60. Total also opened 10.5 down to 10 flat. Currently 62% are still leaning toward the Astros. And at the moment, we've got Garrett Cole for the Astros, Tyler Anderson for the Rockies. And speaking of the Rockies, they've been awful as the home dog, winning just 27% of their ball games, catching plus money at Coors Field. They're also taking on an Astros squad who's 16-4 in their games, where Garrett Cole makes the start. Now, total-wise, Colorado's 10-5 to the over following a day off. Meanwhile, on the other side, Houston's gone 12-7 to the over in their games when the line was 9 or higher. So with all that said and done, I'm going to go ahead and tail the public bettors and take the Astros outright, but fade the public on the total and take the over, 10 flat. Next game, White Sox, Angels, 10:07 the Big A, and a 30-cent move already toward the Angels in the early betting. Los Angeles open $1.55 up to $1.85. Totals 9 flat. 64% are still leaning LA. And at the moment, we've got Carlos Rodon for Chicago, Felix Pena for Los Angeles. And speaking of the Angels, they've really taken care of business when they should have. 25-13 in their games versus losing ball clubs. They're also taking on a White Sox club who's winning just 29% of their games at the current moneyline price. Now, total-wise, the Angels are just 2-10 to the over at home when the line was 9 or higher. In addition to that, 4 out of Felix Pena's last 5 starts stayed under the line as well. So with all those factors in mind, I'm going to take the Angels run line and the under 9 flat. Next and final game for the show, it is going to be Giants-Mariners 10-10 Seattle. The Mariners are $1.85, total 7.5, 69% are leaning towards Seattle. And at the moment, we've got Andrew Suarez for the Giants, James Paxton for the Mariners. And speaking of the Mariners, unbeatable at home, 22-7 as the official home favorite. They're also taking on a San Francisco team who's winning just 38% of their ball games played at the current moneyline price. Now, total-wise, Seattle's 11-6 to the over when the line was 7.5. Meanwhile, on the other side, similar story there is San Francisco 16-9 to the over in their games at the current posted total as well. So with all those stats in mind, I'm going to lean toward the Seattle Mariners run line and the over 7.5. All right, folks, that is going to do it for me. But before I get out of here, I just have to remind you to check out my daily best play at patreon.com/BrockPage. And with a documented win percentage of 60% for the entire year of 2017, you're hurting yourself each and every day you're not subscribed. There's also plenty of free content there as well. So once again, please feel free to check me out at patreon.com/BrockPage. And I also want to remind you to check out my headline sponsor. That's Jimmy and the boys at GhostPicksATS.com. Jimmy and his team of young, hungry expert consultants at Ghost Picks are the most passionate in the business. And if you thought I was good at handicapping games, these guys are amongst the best in the industry. And as always, thank you for watching today's program. I hope you enjoyed all this great free information. And please don't forget to check out my daily best play at patreon.com/BrockPage.